The story of catching a pot of gold. Once upon a time, there was a family who gave birth to 3 sons. The mother loved her son and pampered him from a young age, but the older his father became, the more spoiled he became. Although he already had money, his father only spent his days playing and playing, refusing to study or work at all. For months, the 3 boys wandered from village to village, hanging out from house to house, hanging out with the scoundrels in the area. The more he fooled around, the more his father wasted money. The rich man saw this and was extremely worried about his children's future. After thinking for a long time, he found a way to train his son to become a better person. One day, he called his 3 children and said, "You have grown up, but you still play around all year round, refusing to study or do anything. I'm afraid that in the future, when your parents pass away, you won't be able to keep the inheritance your father left behind. Now I want you to find a way to learn how to work. You should go find families with wealth and work to ask to work for them, and train yourself. You will know how to appreciate wealth when you have sweated a lot in making it. You will learn to love people who work and hate people who are lazy and play around." Dad promised the children to return to visit their parents on his birthday later this year. Although they were afraid of having to work, with their father's kind advice, they did not dare to resist. The boys looked at each other and then they accepted the invitation. When he saw that his children agreed, the rich man told him again and again, "I will only give each of you 3 taels of silver as money for food. When you return, each of you must clearly describe your work. I will only be satisfied if when you return, each of you can clearly state where you work. If you can't find a job, don't come back to attend my birthday." Listening to their father, they all promised to put their father's mind at ease, then packed their bags and left together. About 10 miles from home, they came to a fork in the road. The eldest brother said, "Now let's say goodbye here and remember that we must definitely please our old father." They greeted each other and then went their separate ways. The elder went to the capital and found a job at a mandarin's house in the court. Uncle Hai returned to a small town to work for a merchant. Uncle Ba went to a remote village and was hired by a rich man. This rich man was originally the richest man in the area. No one knows how much wealth the rich man has hidden. People only know that he has 100 buffaloes, 100 cows, 100 fields, chickens, ducks, geese that cannot be counted. The old man's daily food containers are all made of bronze and porcelain. But in particular, he had 2 famous pots of gold, and his family had up to a dozen servants and employees. Borrowing a servant, the rich man ordered him to do odd jobs around the house. During the day, while the boys go to the fields to plow or go to the hills to herd cows and buffaloes, Uncle Ba has to sweep the house, cook rice, cook pig bran, raise chickens and pigs, clean tables and chairs, and wash pots. At mealtime, people let them sit and eat with their friends at the camp. The food was only boiled vegetables with light salt, and rice was tainted with moldy rice. At night, he had to sleep with them in the buffalo barn and cow barn. At first, Uncle Ba found it very difficult. He felt discouraged, but his father's and brother's instructions forced him to stay. Then gradually he got used to his new life and new jobs. In a flash, Uncle Ba worked at the rich man's house for 8 months. For 8 months he endured many hardships and deprivations. But he was starting to feel happy. He and his friends at camp became close friends. He was careful to save every penny so that he could have money for food later when he returned home to celebrate his father's upcoming birthday. One day, he took 2 gold pots from his master's house to the river to wash. Unexpectedly, I was clumsy and accidentally dropped a pot to the bottom of the river. The river was deep, the river water was fast flowing. The pot floated away and sank. Uncle Ba panicked, took off his shirt, jumped into the river and dived to look for him, but after diving several times he still couldn't find it. In the end, he had to take the remaining pot home. The rich man saw that the servant had lost his pot of gold and screamed like crazy. He secretly forced his family members to be tied up and tortured to treat it like a theft. When he saw the servant bow his head and admit his guilt, he shouted loudly. After getting tired of yelling and cursing, the rich man said, "Go back and tell your parents to try to arrange to sell their possessions, fields, gardens, and houses to pay for the pot of gold for me." Hearing this, Mr. Ba replied, "Yes. If you are willing to let me pay, I will go back and ask my parents to pay for it." The rich man thought that his servant's house did not have enough to eat, not to mention a pot of gold, but now that he has heard that, he also hopes that you can confiscate a few belongings and force him to sell his house and land to pay for the pot of gold, at least a part of the pot. Uncle Ba continued, "By the way, I want to invite you to visit my house to choose a suitable pot." The rich man thought to himself, maybe this guy's house also has a pot of gold. If so, we have to go see what his house is like and why would he dare to brag? If the fruit can replace the pot, that would be great. He nodded in agreement, then ordered his 2 family members to prepare their belongings and ride horses to go together. Early the next morning, they departed, the rich man riding the horse, Uncle Ba along with him. The 2 servants followed behind on foot. After walking for a day, the 4 masters and servants arrived at a small town. He invited the rich man and his 2 boyfriends to take a break for lunch at the biggest shop in the town. He said, "This is your parents' small shop." While the rich man was still hesitating, from inside the shop owner and 2 salesmen ran out and called out, "Oh, there. Mr. Ba has come, you go. Don't be in such a hurry. Please come in." Uncle Ba turned around and introduced the rich man and his 2 friends to the family, and invited them into the house. The rich man was extremely surprised to see that the shop owner was very respectful. "Be careful with your child." After a while of visiting and chatting, the host and guest were invited into the house to eat. The meal that day had all kinds of delicacies. After the meal, Mr. Ba asked the rich man, "I see your horse is very tired. Do you need to change to another horse to go faster?" "If possible, that would be good," the rich man replied. A moment later, the rich man was surprised to see the shop owner's family leading 4 fat, saddled horses into the yard. Uncle Ba invited the rich man, "You can ride whichever one you like." The rich man chose the fattest and strongest pink horse. His 2 servants also jumped on 2 white horses. Uncle Ba rode the black horse. 4 horses that have been stuck on the train for a long time are now able to go out and compete with each other to free their hoeing on the road. Uncle Ba urged the reins to go ahead and lead the way. Seeing that his son was also good at riding horses, the rich man was even more confused, thinking to himself, "What kind of child is he from? His parents have a shop, so why does he still rent? When he comes home, he is respected like that. But why is he so humble in front of me?" The sun had begun to guard the mountain, and the 4 horses leisurely entered the second town. Arriving in front of a large store, Uncle Ba bucked his reins, dismounted from his horse, and invited the rich man and his 2 friends to stay at his house to rest. Here, Mr. Ba was quickly asked questions and warmly welcomed. He told the rich man that this was a medium-sized store owned by his parents. The next morning, Uncle Ba asked the rich man to change horses. Then he used his whip to spur his horse forward to lead the way. 4 horses roamed and trotted. The sun stood still. 4 masters and servants went into a town. Uncle Ba got off his horse in front of the most massive building. He invited the rich man into his house and introduced the rich man to his parents. The rich man saw that the rich man had returned with Uncle Ba. He thought that the rich man had the courtesy to come celebrate his birthday and was very happy. The rich man saw that his landlord's biological father was too polite, so he did not dare to mention anything about paying for the pot. While the rich man and the rich man were talking inside the house, outside the yard there was the neighing of horses and noise. When the rich man asked, he found out that Elder had just arrived. Then a moment later, Mr. Hai also rode his horse back to his yard. Seeing that the rich man seemed surprised, the rich man said, "Tomorrow is my birthday. The children who work far away will all come home to celebrate." The rich man thought that elder uncle and second uncle were both going to work as administrators in some region because it seemed that both of them had a gallant and elegant appearance. After lunch, the rich man invited the guest to his bedroom and then called his 3 children to ask about their business during the 8 months away from home. Uncle eldest, uncle second, and third took turns telling their father in detail about their jobs at their employers' houses. The rich man was lying in the next room and heard it clearly. It was then that he realized that the rich man's 2 eldest sons also worked like Uncle Ba. Finally, Uncle Ba added, "Recently, I accidentally knocked a pot of gold belonging to my boss into the river. I tried diving to find it but couldn't find it. Today my boss came here to see if there is anything suitable to take. I ask you to give him one in return." The rich man smiled and said to his son, "Okay. Okay. Tomorrow, take him to see some basins in the washroom. I'll give him that one if he likes it. No matter how much a pot of gold is worth, your vocational training is precious. After my birth, you will not return there to continue your work." All 3 children obeyed. The rich man heard the rich man say so and lay down in deep thought. The next morning was his birthday. The rich man ordered Uncle Ba to take the rich man to visit the animal house. Hearing that visiting an animal house, the rich man did not like it. But out of respect for his master, he reluctantly accepted. Uncle Ba led the rich man and his 2 friends to the second floor. He opened the door to the first room, which was the cattle room. At first glance, the room was bright with golden light. The rich man was dizzy and almost fell down. Uncle Ba took his hand and led him into the room. In the room were all kinds of animals. Here were dogs, cats, sows with their cubs. There were horses, buffaloes, calves, and in the middle were cows and children. Calf. Each animal is cast in gold and half the size of a real animal. I stood, I sat, I lay down, looking until my eyes were dizzy. In front of each child there is a gold pot and a silver pot. The rich man kept admiring each child, fondling each pot. Uncle Ba invited the rich man to the second room again. This room is twice as large as the previous room, displaying all kinds of animals in the forest: bronze animals, gold animals, deer, yellow deer, black deer, civet cats, cat foxes, dog foxes, striped leopards, leopards, white tiger, gray tiger, wolf, sun bear, wild boar, wild pig, mother elephant, baby elephant, monkey, white gibbon, long-tailed gibbon, male loris, female loris, etc. Babies, foxes, squirrels, weasels, etc. They submit, they kneel, they play with each other, they raise their legs to run, they raise their arms as if trying to climb, they open their mouths, show their fangs, show their claws, they are grazing. I was lying down leisurely. The rich man looked at each child and looked at each type. Uncle Ba invited the rich man to see the last room. This room was a whole forest of birds. One was made of gold, one was made of silver as big as the birds outside. One stood on the black bronze stones, one perched on top of it. Golden branches and silver leaves. Some are spreading their wings as if flying, some are opening their beaks as if singing, some are preening their feathers, some are fighting, some are lying down in beautiful nests. In each corner of the room there is a silver pot containing flowers. Golden grain, a golden pot filled with silver water. The rich man could not get close enough to see each animal in person. He stood in the middle of the room and counted from the big ones like eagles, hawks, pheasants, to the small ones like robins, sparrows, and caterpillars, and it was very strange to see that there were nearly 500 inside. Big and small children. He could not believe that there was such a rich person in the world. That afternoon, Mr. Ba invited the rich man to visit the room where all kinds of daily utensils were stored. Here, there are from small utensils such as cups, bowls, plates, chopsticks, to medium-sized items such as bottles, containers, kettles, then to large utensils such as gold trays, silver trays, pots, etc. Bowl, jar. The rich man no longer has the energy to look at each type and item in detail anymore. All these things are made of gold and silver. The rich man paid special attention to 10 pairs of large and small gold pots stacked on top of each other. Some were twice as big as his family's pots, and some were also the youngest. At night, when he went to bed and thought, the rich man regretted saying too much to his servant when he dropped the pot into the river. He was also ashamed of the fact that he only had 2 pots of gold and dared to boast that he was the richest, second in the world. Then in the third watch, he went to the bed of the 2 workers, gently woke them up, took them to the yard to discuss, and then ran straight home. Wherever he went, he hired a horse and arrived home in just 1 day and 1 night. When he got home, he immediately called his wife and children and told them everything they had seen and heard in the rich man's house. When the rich man's wife and children heard this, they all shook their heads and stuck out their tongues. When his wife asked him about paying for the pot, he lowered his voice and said, "I was too harsh," and scolded him, thinking he belonged to the poor category. But when I arrived at his house, I saw that his parents were polite, his brothers were wise, and that his fortune was 10,000 times greater than ours. I still had the heart to open my mouth and ask for a pot in return, even though I lost that pot and my guts. I hurt like hell. While the rich man's family was whispering about the 3 animal rooms and the room containing the rich man's gold and silver utensils, Uncle Ba rode his horse into the yard. He got off his horse and entered the house, placing right in front of the rich man a golden pot twice as big as the old pot, along with a bag of silver. Before the rich man could say anything, Mr. Ba spoke first. Before your father could properly entertain him, he rushed home. My father let me come here first to pay him this pot, then asked him to let me work here again like before. My father even asked me to bring this silver bag as a small gift to repay him for teaching me in the past 8 months. According to Mr. Hoang Duc II, Hong Viet Commune, Hoa An District, Sao Bang. Thank you for joining us for today's fairy tale. We hope these stories bring joy and meaning to your day. If you love our channel, please hit the subscribe button so you won't miss any exciting tales. Wishing you a good night and sweet dreams. See you in the next story.